Je pense que la réponse de chaque province est, on a tous une voix autour de la table, puis une voix équilibrée. Je travaille vraiment proche avec mes collègues dans l'Atlantique. On a notre groupe de gouverneurs oh, je m'excuse, New England, c'est quoi?
La conférence du gouverneur de l'Est, là, je sais de quoi vous parlez.
OK, conférence du gouverneur de l'Est, merci. On se réunit comme un conseil de premier ministre de l'Atlantique, puis aussi comme le conseil de gouverneurs de l'Est. On travaille ensemble avec nos économies, avec nos opportunités pour les options qu'on peut faire avec comment tous les produits bougent, puis à quelle industrie qui sont impactées dans nos provinces. Mais je pense que autour du table, chaque premier ministre, si c'est le Yukon ou les territoires du Nord-Ouest, ou si c'est Saskatchewan ou si c'est Nouveau-Brunswick, tout le monde a l'opportunité de s'exprimer et on est tous égaux autour de cette table-là. Alors, moi, j'ai du confiance que nos intérêts sont bien représentés dans le travail unifié qu'on a fait, dans la stratégie qui était proposée par le gouvernement fédéral, répond à nos besoins. Ça démontre qu'il était à l'écoute de nos demandes parce ils sont là, ils sont réfléchis dans la stratégie qu'on a vue aujourd'hui. Puis avec le ministre Leblanc, là aussi, je pense que on fait un bon travail avec mes collègues de l'Atlantique, avec nos collègues les États qui sont nos proches. Puis on a beaucoup de bons alliés dans le travail pour éviter les tarifs.
Dan Arsenault, All New Brunswick.
Thank you. I'm curious if the Premier has met with any representative of some of the bigger companies in the province, JDI, Irving Oil. Can you give me anything on that? And if you have met with them, can you tell us what the concerns are and what the strategy is?
Absolutely, Dan. Yes, we have had both meetings and conversations with the major exporters across New Brunswick, including JDI, Irving Oil, McCain's, our lobster producers, our agricultural producers, Cook Aquaculture, and more. We're getting together again for an additional meeting this week. And we hear deep concern from those companies because of how much they sell into the U.S. And the impact that these tariffs will have on their businesses. We're exchanging information constantly about which contacts in the U.S. that they've engaged with, what we've each heard from the various senators and governors that we've all talked to, who's seen progress where there might be opportunities to continue to push and build the allies who are going to help us convince President Trump to eliminate these tariffs. So we've been working actively with the businesses in New Brunswick, and we will continue to do so to make sure that both the supports that we're preparing and our response to these tariffs recognizes the impacts that they're going to feel.
Thank you.
David Gordon Koch, NB Media Co-op.
Hi there, Premier Holt. You mentioned the historically friendly relationship between Canada and the U.S., but more than ever, it seems that we're on the verge of another Trump presidency. The U.S. seems to be descending into some kind of neo-fascism, just the anti-immigrant rhetoric alone, for example. Your thoughts on the direction of the U.S. beyond Canada's economic interests?
Well, right now, I am really focused on the economic impact of the direction that the U.S. is taking, because it's going to be exceptionally damaging to the New Brunswick economy and to New Brunswickers and New Brunswick businesses. So that's the real and significant threat in front of us. And I will also say, I appreciate the work that the federal government did on border security, because maybe counter to Trump's narrative, the biggest issues that we have at the border are what's coming in from the U.S. as opposed to what's going into the U.S. from Canada. And so we do have some concerns about their strategies for deportation and how that might impact New Brunswick, and are preparing to make sure that we can respond to that effectively. So lots of concerns about the direction that the U.S. is taking, but much of my energy and focus is going to protecting our economy and our workers in the face of the tariff threat that is a few days away.
Just briefly as a follow-up, could you comment on this anti-immigrant rhetoric in particular, which is also on the rise here in Canada, as I think any journalist who is on social media can attest to?
It's definitely concerning because New Brunswick has been really benefited and been built by the contribution of a lot of immigrants from different places. We still benefit today, particularly in our healthcare system, certainly in our housing structure systems, from the people who have chosen to call New Brunswick home, and they make our province richer and they help us care for our sick and our elderly. And they're helping us build our province and our economy for the future. And so I think we have to be really thoughtful about the role of immigration in the history of Canada, what it has brought and meant for our country and our country's economy and society and culture. And I think that we have to continue to be a place where everyone feels like they can be themselves and that they can thrive, and also feels that their contribution to our economy and our society is recognized and appreciated. So I think that the moves to blame problems on immigrants are wrong-headed. And if we see a decrease in New Brunswick's population, then that's going to hurt all of us. So it's something that has to be managed really thoughtfully and with an eye to the future and the big picture of how our province is going to thrive in the days to come.
Thank you.
Erica Butler, CHMA.
Hi, Premier Holt. Yeah, I've heard economists say that, sort of with a backward vision here, what we really needed to have done is 4 years ago start working on Trump-proofing the economy, basically. I'm wondering if the conversation around the table turned it all to what that would look like, how the provinces can work towards, diversifying, strengthening, and reducing the dependence on the U.S. market and the U.S. in general.
Well, thanks for the question, Erica. That's been a conversation here in New Brunswick for as long as I've been around economic development, and that's going on 15 years now. And so the interesting part of the conversation today, actually, we did talk a little bit about interprovincial trade barriers and the opportunities to continue to reduce those. We also talked about the opportunity to buy more Canadian, and this is a great time to encourage New Brunswickers and Canadians and our businesses to look at the Canadian content on their shelves and to put out made in Canada and made in New Brunswick flags on their products, and for us to actively support our own economies in the face of the kind of threats that Trump has put in place. But we have a team here in New Brunswick that has been working hard through the opportunities presented by the Canada-Europe trade agreement that was signed a number of years ago to grow our exports in other countries. And that's been happening, but we've also grown our business with the US at the same time. And so it continues to take up a significant share of our exports, even while our exports globally are growing. So we've long been working on trade diversification, but we have a customer in the US that has been extremely thirsty for Canadian and New Brunswick goods that we have been serving. And so I think now is the time in the face of these tariffs to ask all Canadians to consider when they're going out to buy their next box of Kleenex or their next beer or their next who knows what, that they look for the Canadian or New Brunswick product on the shelf and they take this opportunity to support our own companies and our own producers while we fight these tariffs with the United States.
Okay, thanks everyone. That's all the time we have. Merci tout le monde. C'est tout le temps qu'on a pour ce soir. Merci.
Thanks everyone. Merci. Bonsoir.